This podcast is for a mature audience and may be viewed as inappropriate or insensitive to some. Listener discretion is advised. The intention is to share conversation of like and unlike-minded individuals as they try to be the best them they can be in a life full of challenges, searching for love, acceptance, and positivity. Call 669-241-1422 and share yourself or catch up with Sweet Baby J for an anonymous face-to-face interview. Feel free to call in with questions, stories, thoughts, or anything you would love to talk about and share. Nothing is off the table when talking sweet with Sweet Baby J at 669-241-1422.
Ladies and gents and ladies, once again, you are here talking sweet with the one and only Sweet Baby J. As always, a no-face, no-case scenario where we offer our amazing guests the opportunity to share or not their identity. We have a young stallion here. Young man, would you like to share your identity or not?
Hey, I go by Dre.
All right, Big Dre.
That's the name everybody called me, Dre. Of course, everybody know that's short for Andre, but Dre is good.
Dre Day.
Yeah, that's what they call me, Dre Day, for real.
We know each other from passing, and I have to say it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you.
Same here.
We've had conversations, deep conversations, very personal conversations about things that I could only imagine you hold very, very dear to your heart.
Yeah.
Care to share?
You know, people go through things in life and you wonder why you're still standing. I hear people complain daily about something. And I used to do that. I used to complain about stuff until life put it in perspective for me.
How?
By losing the nearest and dearest things to me. Things like, I guess, for example, I lost my wife of 8 years. She was 34, lost her to cancer. And I had a 7 and 4-year-old. Now, I didn't have a backup plan because I was in love. So I thought I would be with her the rest of my life. So when she died, I got a 7 and 4-year-old. I have nothing to do. So I'm thinking, and then I'm having a challenge with God and with religion because I'm thinking, they say God won't put more on you than you can handle. But at that point, at that time, that was too much.
You lost the love of your life.
Lost the love of my life and made it through that after a couple of years of, didn't work the first year. Did some things along that way to soothe myself. I was being real.
When you say, you mean the first year after your wife's passing, or?
The first 2 years after her passing, I was lost.
How would you describe yourself as lost? Like, what do you mean?
Didn't know what I was doing the next day. Didn't have a plan for my future. Didn't know how I was going to finish raising my 7 and 4-year-old. Didn't know if I was wanted to remain on earth.
It sounds like you had some deep thoughts, bro.
All those things. So when I said lost, I mean lost like I remember getting insurance money, life insurance, feeling angry that these people are giving me a check for my wife's body in return for my wife's death. Didn't want to cash it because I was angry. Put it in the bank. I remember them coming to my door to cut my lights off, to cut my water off. I had probably $200,000 in the bank, but I wasn't even functional enough to go pay my light bill.
Wow.
Or pay my water bill.
So you were really stuck in a spot in which functioning just was not.
My only function was to get my kids up, get them to school, come back, cry all day, drink all day, wash my mouth out enough to come back and get them from school, cook them something to eat, get them to bed as soon as I could so I could lay in the bed and cry all night. I did that over and over and over for months.
Wow.
Yeah. So I say that to say that was my first challenge. Okay, I made it through that. Later on, 5 years later, my mother was at my wife's funeral. 5 years later, I lost my mother. That wasn't as hard. People will probably say, well, how are you going to lose? Because my mother was older. You kind of expect people to go out in the order they come in.
Yeah.
You don't expect somebody younger to go before somebody older.
At such a young age, too.
Even though it happens all the time. She's 34 and she had cancer for 3 years. They gave her 6 months to live, but she lived for. They diagnosed in 1998. She died in 2002.
What kind of cancer?
Neuroblastoma, which is a cancer that starts in, I can't say it starts, I'm not a doctor, but it used her lymph nodes somewhere in her abdomen. It used her lymph nodes to go up to her brain. In days, in the last week, she didn't know who I was, didn't know who her kids was, because it attacked her neuro part, brain and stuff.
Okay, I don't want to.
Neuroblastoma, which is mostly found in children. It's more of a children's cancer.
I know that the whole process was definitely traumatic, but those days in which she did not know who you were and dealing with that, she didn't know the kid. How was?
Well, you're sitting there watching it, and even though logically you know that this is the end, you still don't accept it. You see that she doesn't know who you are. She's yelling at the kids because she don't know who they are. You see it, and it's happening right in front of you. But when it happens, you're still in denial. That's what it was. And so, for 2 years I didn't work. Fortunately, financially I was okay. but I feel like I lost 2 years of wasting time because trying to take care of 2 little kids, I didn't really get to grieve. I wanted to just do nothing. I wanted to just sit around and mope all day and cry all day and drink all day and eat, soothe my pain. But I got to get my daughter to the beauty shop. I got to get my son to the barber shop. I got to get my daughter to rehearsal events. I got to get her to gymnastics after my wife died. I got to do all this shit.
How were the kids taking it?
You know, it's fortunate. We'll talk about my son now. He was 4 at the time. Fortunately, he didn't remember a lot. My daughter at 7, when she turned 13 and started becoming a woman and needed a woman's, when my daughter started her cycle, I'm in the store on the phone with a woman trying to pick out.
You was like,
I don't know how to put it in. I don't know how to tell her to put it in her pants. So I had to have a friend of mine come over and go in the bathroom and show her. Those are the things.
God bless friends.
Yeah. Like I said, my son, as he grew older, he didn't remember it as much. And so that was almost a blessing. We went to counseling. We go to counseling, joint counseling, separate counseling for me and for them. And we did that as long as I could, but I had to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wife died 2002. Mother died 2007. 7 and 4-year-old, they finally graduated high school. My daughter in 2016, my son in 2019, and my son in 2018. My daughter in 2015, I think it is. Let me see. I'm getting it mixed up here. No, my daughter in 2013, my son in 2016. And then the 4-year-old son that I had with my wife, when my wife died, decided he didn't want to be on this earth anymore in May 12th of 2019.
So he committed suicide.
Yep.
You're losing your core of people that you
core.
love.
That was my core. The only person left from my core is my daughter, my mother, my wife, my son. And you got people coming up to you. Now, I grew up in a Baptist church. Grew up going to church 10 days a week, ain't but 7 in a week, but I was there 10. Grew up one of those Southern Baptist grandmothers.
29 hours in a day?
Man, I could have preached a sermon. I went so much. But as I got older, as a man, you got to think for yourself. You can't just do what your parents told you. See, a lot of religion is because your grandmother did it, so your mother did it, so they make the kids do it.
Mm-hmm.
You do it because you're told to do it. You do it. You go to church because you're told to. But when you become a man, you go, wait the fuck, how am I supposed to be believing? They say, well, God won't put more on that you can handle. Them the people I got to get from around before I put my hands on them. I ain't the one you're supposed to be telling this right now. God has already given me more than I can handle.
You started questioning your faith base.
Started. Still am. As of this moment. I'm being real. People ain't going to like it. Really don't give a damn. This is my life.
And on honesty, what we do here is we talk about people's personal journeys.
Yeah.
It's not really for someone to like.
Yeah.
It's your journey.
I'm just saying sometimes you can be real and people like, oh, this guy, you don't believe in. It's just that they always say, well, God won't give you more you can handle. Well, God knows best. I really don't think God wants a 21-year-old to put a gun to his head. I don't think God wants kids homeless and starving without parents and with parents on crack and parents who are in prison and they're left to raise them. That kind of God, I don't want to be a follower of that kind of God. So I just have a different, I haven't figured it out. I'm still trying to figure it out. I know there's a higher being. What his name is, I don't know. I was raised, by the Bible. Can quote you some scriptures.
I couldn't.
Right now in my life, I just think there's a higher power. I don't judge anybody's religion, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Muslim. I respect all religions because they believe in what they believe, and I believe what I believe. Because of my experiences, I don't tell people not to believe a God. I don't do that because it's been my personal experience. Yeah, man. So, I'm still standing. And I amaze myself every day that I'm still standing.
How do you get through every day with all what you've been through with the ones that you love? How do you get through the days?
I still have some times where I'm driving to work or going down the street and I hear a song or I have some emotional days. But what keeps me going now is my little almost 4-year-old. I have purpose again. If you don't have purpose, I think you give up and you just say, what am I here for? See, regardless of suicide, my son committed suicide and I grieve him, but I'm also angry at him because suicide is such a selfish thing. You don't think of how is this going to affect the people you leave behind? They going to go crazy? Are they going to follow you and commit suicide because they're in such grief? But I'm not that kind of selfish person. I couldn't do that to people who love me. I can't.
So you found yourself angry.
It's a roller coaster. Sometimes sad, sometimes angry, sometimes wondering in his last moments. It was raining that night. I know exactly where I was. I was in Virginia, Alexandria, Virginia, out with a friend for their birthday. And when I came home, he wasn't home. My wife said he went out. I thought he went to work. Next day, homicide shows up at my door. So that night, I know exactly where I was. It was raining that night. It's been printed in my head. Police said, "You want to come identify the body?" I said, "No, I don't want to remember him that way."
You did, so you didn't?
No, he had ID on him and stuff, and they positively identified him. I didn't want to see him that way, yeah, because that memory would be etched in my brain.
Too much.
Too much. Yeah. There's a lot going on in this world. People are hurting, man. And I'm not so selfish to think that I'm hurting. There are people who lose their entire family in one day, in an accident, in a wreck. And I know that there are people who have been through more than I have. But I can only talk about my experiences. But I do know that my life isn't the worst. Even though I've been through what I've been through, it's not the worst. It could get worse. And there are people who I don't worry about eating every day. I don't worry about shelter every day. There are people every day who worry about that. So I don't make a big deal of mine. As of today, I'm good.
With your son, were there ever any signs, or was he suffering with depression, or did you have any inkling that something like this would possibly happen?
Not really, because we had the conversation. He was autistic. He was autistic, functional autistic. So he worked at Amazon. He went to work at night, but he was very much to himself. He didn't have friends. He might go out with his friend twice a year to a movie. He stayed in his room all the time, video games and all that stuff. And I feel like I should have approached him more to try to talk. But he was on medication. He was seeing a counselor. I made him see a counselor. They did a test. That's how they found out he was autistic. They had him on certain medications. Some was depressing. But I think they had him on a lot of different medications because his attitude changed toward me. He was more aggressive and disrespectful with his mouth. He was never like that before.
So you feel that the medications might have had
without a doubt, 100%, because there were days where he would jump about like, "What are you talking?" He had never been like that to me. He was just quiet. Now he was verbal toward me, and that had never happened before he was on medication.
It's crazy that when I see these medications on TV and they're like, "This may cause this and that. This may cause this."
Yeah.
They don't really, like, they say them with all the things, and they make all these commercials look so glorious, but they speed by the negative effects.
The side effects are worse than the problem you're treating. Yeah.
Wow.
People don't read the fine print. They have a headache. They say, "Give me this for the headache." They don't see that it might cause impotence.
Wrong head.
Yeah. So,
Damn, bro. You said you had 2 children. What, you have an older?
I have a older daughter in Virginia.
Do you guys contact each other much, or?
Yeah, we've had a strained relationship. Yeah, I can do as much as I can. A lot of that comes from probably growing up without her mother and needing that mother figure there. And she had a father figure. I can't pretend to be a woman. There are things about 15, 16, 17-year-olds that a father can't do. Just like there are things that a woman can't do with a 15, 16, 17-year-old young man.
And we're never prepared.
Never.
I remember when I was young, well, not when I was younger, when my daughter was younger, and same thing, these commercials came on, and one of the commercials was like talking about a period.
Yeah.
She came to me and said, "Daddy, what's a period?" I was like, "The end of a sentence. Go do your homework."
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like I was not prepared for that.
Exactly. But a mother is prepared. She knows there's questions coming. And, I was raised by a single mother. I never knew my father. But fortunately, her brothers were around. So I had uncles that were father figures. If it hadn't been for that, I might be a different dude. Not that a mother can't raise a son, because they can. I think that a positive father figure definitely helps, a son.
You see the importance of it from how you was raised?
Without a doubt. I would have loved to have my father in my life. I met him once when I was 32 at his brother's funeral, and they pointed him out to me at the funeral as they were placing my uncle, because I knew his brothers, I just never knew him. As they were placing his casket in the car, I walked up to him and said, "Hi, I'm Andre, I'm your son." And he said to me, "I'm sorry, son. Forgive me, I'm sorry, son." I said, "I forgive you. You owe me nothing. You owe my mother a lot. My mother was my father and my mother. You don't owe me anything. I missed out on nothing." And I told him I forgave him.
It sounds like you said that a little bit out of anger.
No, at the time it wasn't. It was really a relief for me. When they say to forgive somebody is a release, it was a release for me. Not only that, after he got back to Illinois, I called him on the phone. And my wife at the time, the one who died, was around at the time. We were married at the time. And I called him, and he was quiet. I said, "Hi, this is my first time ever talking to him on the phone after the funeral. So I'm going to try to start a relationship."
You was trying.
Trying. And he was quiet. I said, "Why are you so quiet? You don't talk much." He's like, "Well, the World Series is on." I go, "Okay." He was real quiet. He's watching the game. So then I called back again, like 2 weeks later, and he was watching some sports. He was really into sports on TV. He was quiet again. And I was thinking, if this is the first time I'm talking to my son, I'm going to shut everything off in the room to make sure I hear everything he got to say. But he was more interested in the games that he was watching than talking to his son for the first time.
Wow.
And my wife at the time told me, Andres, you may need to let it go. It's really up to him to start the relationship with you. You tried, because you're going to keep disappointing yourself because he's showing who he is. And I let it go. I forgave him. I haven't been angry at him. I think when I was growing up, like a 12, 13, 14-year-old, I was angry that I didn't have a father around. But not now. He looked like an alcoholic. I think it was probably a blessing he wasn't in my life. You know how your alcoholic got those big old droopy eyes, and he just looked like he had a hard life. So I think it was probably good that it wasn't
Things
in my life.
happen
Yeah.
the way they're supposed to, not the way that you want them to. As you said, might have been an absolute blessing that he wasn't, because your life could have been incredibly different.
Without a doubt.
You may have seen things that child is not supposed to see.
Exactly.
I mean, I'll just leave it at that. But
Yeah.
is he still alive, or
Just recently died from what I'm told.
from what you're told?
From what I'm told. Just recently died, like in the last year.
You did not attend a funeral. You didn't know of a funeral, or
I've never seen him other than when I was 32. I've never seen him. I've never known anything about him.
wow,
Yeah.
that's wild.
So who would have called me if he had died? Who knew to call me?
Yeah.
Who knew I existed? Or that are people that are around him?
Did you have other siblings?
I have no idea. Not from my mother. From him, I have no idea.
Wow, it's crazy to me. And I know that these are people's realities, but to sit here and speak with you and you're telling me that this is your reality, that you may not know that you have siblings, is wild to me.
Mm-hmm. If I found out, I would definitely try to reach out. Yeah, I would definitely try to reach out. Yeah, I know nothing about him. I do know he lived in Rockford, Illinois, but he's never. He could have gotten in touch with me through his brother that I knew growing up, who was always in my life. His brother was always in my life. They lived on the same street I did. My first cousins on his side, we still talk today. He had the opportunity. He knew where I was. My mother was in the same town that he impregnated her in.
There was no reason.
He knew exactly where I was. I lived in the same street that he lived on when he was growing up and my mother lived on. And when he left and went to Illinois, my mother lived in the same house. We never moved. He could have easily gotten in touch with me within a matter of minutes by calling one person.
So with that relationship the way it was, I could only imagine you put a lot of effort, emphasis, and passion in being a father.
I don't want to be like him, ever. Not that I'm the best father. Trust me, there's room for improvement. But
I got to say,
yeah,
to say that there's room for improvement,
yeah,
you're on the right path.
yeah. There's always room for improvement. But trust me, I'm definitely not in the bottom 50%. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm that dude. Like, I sit down and dress dolls.
There you go.
Change dolls' clothes.
You ever had your toenails painted?
Not my fingernail. Yeah. I draw chalk. I mean, I do it all. I do it all.
Because you know the importance of it.
Yeah. I want her, the day that I die, I want her to just say, wow, he was a great dad. That's all I want. I don't need nothing else. Just say, great dad.
One of my cousins.
That's the best title you can have.
One of my cousins, when her father, it's actually sort of making me tear up right now, just knowing the love that she has. And I don't say had, but the love she has for her father. And even though he's not here, I legit can only pray, hope that my daughters and my son feel that way about me.
Exactly.
And I mess up because I'm human. But at the same time, I try to fix my wrongs.
Yeah.
As a parent, you're never going to be 100%.
Yeah.
You're going to say things, do things, act in a way. But my children, man, they'd be like, Daddy, I'm like, damn, I'm getting schooled by my kids. And I think that's important. When you lose one, bro,
Yep.
that is a pain.
And so the issue I have now, and this is a bad thing probably, is being compassionate with people when they tell me they've lost someone. Because after I lost my wife, I got past that, miss her, great wife. And I would still be married to her today. We had zero problems. My mother expected my son. That has kind of frozen my heart a little bit as far as people saying, and this sounds bad. I lost my grandmother. She was 104. And I have to realize that they've been with this person so long. They missed their grandmother. And I'm comparing my 19-year-old son to that. And I have to get out of that mental state to realize these people had a loss. Even though they had lived a long life, they still miss her just as much as I miss my son.
It's hardened you.
Huh? It hardened me. I'm like, get over it. They lived 100 years old. That was my first thought. Now, that's wrong. So be clear that I know that that's wrong. I had to be aware of that when people would come to me and say, man, my grandmother died. She was 98. And I have to go, oh, my God, I'm so sorry for your loss. Versus I was like, what? That's what it initially did to me. I had to regroup and check myself. Yeah.
Empathy was...
What's that? It was gone. It was gone. Yeah, I get it. That was me. That was just a part of my grieving process. So now all of my time goes into my 4-year-old. And get back to my other daughter, my older daughter. Yeah, we have a strained relationship. Some of it is probably my fault. But at some point, I don't do well when you got, regardless of how old your kids are, for them to cuss me out. Even recently cuss me out. But at the end, then say, hey, fly me down there. I want to visit. So
curse you out, but they want airfare.
Yeah, every time she visits, I pay for the airfare. Called me the other day and said, can I come down? I said, no, this is not a good time. So she is hopefully starting to grow, unfortunately, and still listen to her father. Life has had to teach her a lot of things, and she's went through some things that she didn't have to if she had listened to me. But sometimes life's lessons are the best lessons. Yeah.
Someone told me one time you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah.
That horse got to know what thirst is like then.
Yeah, but when life teaches you, ain't no cushion.
Yeah.
At least when we teach you, there's a cushion. You're just a number out there. People don't care. One of her things is she keeps getting fired from her job because, well, they didn't do this and they didn't do that. Well, I came in 2 minutes late and they fired me. Well, how many times did you come in 2 minutes late? 14. I said, well, you were consistently coming in late. Nobody fires somebody for being 2 minutes late. Somebody fires somebody for being 2 minutes late every day. So until you get your own shit and get your own business, you can't call the shots. You got to do what they say. You might not agree with it. It's stuff they do at my job I don't agree with. Is my check on time? That's my only question. If they want to be there at 3 in the morning, I'll be there at 3 in the morning. Is my check on time? Only time I don't show up is my check ain't on time. Other than that, I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
I can't make the rules. But yeah, so we struggling. We struggling. She was here in May. We struggling. I have to assume people tell me, well, she'll come around. She's in her 20s. She's in that millennial stage. She knows it all. Can't tell her anything. So, I told her, I said, it's funny you constantly trying to teach me, but you haven't taught yourself to be self-sufficient, to make your own money. And if you're so much smarter than me, you should be giving me money and not you calling me for food and for money. And I just distance myself right now. I say just only what I need to.
To protect yourself.
Because every time I let her in, she hurts me. She's my namesake. So every time I let her in, she hurts me. So I'm just...
You got to protect yourself. There's got to be a point where you protect yourself.
Like I told her, you're 27, I got other people to feed. I got a 4-year-old, I got a wife. What I'm not going to let you do is bring that negativity in my house. Daughter or not, blood or not, you bring negativity in my house, you're going to get escorted out. Anyone bring negativity in my house. You don't get a pass because you're family. Negativity is negativity. How many times can your son, who's 25, come in your house and cuss you out? Who's 20? Say if he's 25. Give an example.
2.
He come visit you.
2.
He get 2 times.
2 times.
Okay, well, you better than me because I'll let it happen more than that, but it won't happen no more.
Because the first time, I don't know what the issue was, but and I will let you know. The second time, that's the last.
Exactly. Yeah. So I like to tell people, family or not, you're not going to come in my house and disrespect me and then talk about what we having for dinner. What you going to have is that concrete out there. I would let you use some salt and pepper, take it with you.
Yeah.
But you ain't finna be in my house and talk to me crazy. Nobody, not even Jesus, is gonna talk to me crazy in my house.
But this is the thing.
And I don't think that he would.
But this is the thing. I think someone with common sense wouldn't even go to someone else's house and talk to someone crazy.
Yeah. God, that word keeps coming up. Why don't they take the word common out of common sense? Because it ain't common. It ain't common.
It's the truth.
Common sense is not common. That is so misappropriately named. Common sense would suggest that the majority of people come up with the same conclusion.
There's no humanity in humans.
Wow. That's a whole nother show.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Humanity. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I say some of this seems like it's actually pretty fresh, especially with your son.
Yeah, I think it's always going to be fresh. I don't think I can ever
I don't even know how to ask the appropriate questions without.
You can ask anything. You can ask anything. But this is therapeutic for me too.
No, but the thing is like on a daily, because I just personally think, I'm hearing you, and I just think that it is impossible not to think about these things on a daily basis. How do you just keep going? I know you said you have your daughter, but how do you get that oomph to just keep that train going?
I got people to feed. That's really basically it. The times that I don't have anything to do is the times that my mind wanders. So I try to keep busy with my daughter, whether I'm in the yard or whether I'm running with some going to smoke a cigar, I try to keep busy because an idle mind is idle. Yeah, I think about stuff like that. Of course, there's a guilt complex. There's a guilt like I could have done this, or another thing I was concerned about is the gun laws. So the police they tracked the gun that he used, and they said he bought it 3 weeks prior. Well, he was also autistic, and so these gun rights activists, which I believe in guns, but I also believe the people who buy guns should have a mental background check. The reason why a lot of people don't want that because a lot of people coming back from the Army and the military got PTSD, so they couldn't even get a gun. But I think if they had done another thing is the HIPAA laws. Well, we can't check his medical information. Well, if you don't, that means people who have mental issues can go buy guns because they have no criminal record, but they can go buy guns.
You may not have a criminal record, but you have a record of mental instability.
Which can't be checked because of HIPAA.
I see what you're saying.
Which can't be checked because of HIPAA. Most of these people who go around and walk in churches and shoot up people in schools and shoot people have mental issues. They don't have a criminal issue. They have mental issues. Those people can be stopped if we can check their mental record. Then, nobody's going to vote that in because of HIPAA. They want their medical history private. Well, my son could have been stopped if they had checked on me. He was autistic. They wouldn't have sold him a gun. He bought the gun himself 3 weeks prior.
Not just because of HIPAA. I think also that the gun lobbyists really support their cause.
NRA is the strongest lobby out there.
No matter what. And I say that no matter what. And mind you, truth be told, ladies and gents, I am a gunman. And I'm sitting in front of a gunman.
That gun's at the house now.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also do believe that there should be some legislation in order to protect the public.
Exactly.
And sometimes in protecting the public from themselves, in your son's case.
Yeah. Yep.
So you do believe that if there was different legislation, that it may have led to your son still being here?
I think so. They would have stopped him from buying the gun, which, he may have found a different way, jump off a bridge or whatever, but at least that would have been it.
Have you ever thought to go to Congress or any congressional meeting and tell your son's story?
There are higher profile people who committed suicide. People have went to Congress about mental background checks. And that's been done. People said in front of Congress about mental background checks. They've done that. Higher profile people than me. And so I don't think it would do any good. Who am I? I'm just an ant, I'm not, Henry Kissinger's son. That's already been put on the floor. People have talked about this before. But it never makes the floor. It never makes, they table it in Congress.
Because of the lobbyists.
Because of the lobbyists.
I mean,
NRA, they donate so much to campaigns. And I believe in my Second Amendment rights. But also, if I have mental issues, don't give me a gun. But I ain't never worked up in a school or a store or anything and shut up people either.
Well, people don't do that until they do that.
But there are signs for some people. Some people, there are signs.
So then?
But you catch them at how you do is when they go to buy the gun, you run a mental background check on their mental, and you see that they're seeing a psychologist or a psychiatrist or they're on certain medications, you don't issue the gun.
I'm going to get a little crazy with you here, right?
Okay.
Because you've been through these very deep situations that have happened in your life. But at the same time, you're a gun owner. You could have been that person that said, you know what? I can't take it anymore. Today's the day. And you get what I'm saying?
I've had many reasons to do that. I've had many excuses to do that. Wow, I'm grieving my wife. Pow. Man, my mother died. Pow. My son just committed suicide. Pow. I've had so many reasons to do it. That's the most selfish thing you can ever do. It means you don't really care about how it's going to affect anybody. Very selfish. It's, even for my son, it's very selfish. He was very selfish to do that. That don't mean I don't love my son, but he's very selfish because he don't know how it affected his sister. He doesn't understand. Like, I never really understood heartbreak. I know for a fact my heart is broken. I feel it physically. I push myself every day. You may see me go into the car. I'm pushing myself because it's like it happened yesterday. I'm pushing myself. Say, oh, man, I got to go to work. I got to do this because there are days I just don't have the energy. But then I have good days. But, yeah, I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken. There are days that I'm mad at him. Grief is a roller coaster.
You just mentioned the fact that you have to push yourself just to go to work. And sometimes people at work are being dicks, not knowing what you're really going through, what's on your mind, where your heart is at.
I tell people all the time, watch how you approach people. You don't know what happened during their day. You just never know. It could have been 15 people that cussed that person out, flipped them off that day. Could have been 15 people, and you was the 16th, unfortunately.
Bro, you see me, most every person I interact with is with a smile.
Yeah.
Almost, our first time meeting,
Yep.
I approach everyone with a smile. And I even give space. You may have had a bad day.
Yeah.
I give you space to walk it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make sure you walk it down quick.
Know what a person is going through. You just don't know what a person is going through. You know, like there were people on my street when my wife had cancer. They didn't know what we were going through. There were people 2 weeks later didn't realize that my wife had died. So they see me coming down the street and waving. They had no idea what I'm going through mentally or emotionally. I'm just trying to get to the house, man. That's all. I'm just trying to get to the house, get in there, get these kids, check their homework, get these kids a bath, and get them in bed.
How was it? People are waving you, hey, Dre, go on what you're going through. And they're chipper or whatever. How did you feel at that moment when you see them and they probably don't know what's going on?
Not at all. I knew they didn't know. I knew they didn't know, so it wasn't their fault. Not at all. Let me tell you something that happened to me. I got to tell you this story. I'm embarrassed by it. So the day of my wife's funeral, my mother came down. We come back in the limo to the house, and my neighbors across the street were a gay couple, guys. Some of the nicest people you'll ever met. While I was at work, they would come over and check on my wife because she was in the bed. I ain't going to mention their name, but they were just some of the most wonderful people in the world. They were at my wife's funeral, both of them, both guys. And like I say, I had their numbers. I would say, can you go check on my wife? They would take her food, take her soup, just the best neighbors in the world.
Sounds like you appreciated them.
Oh, my God. I went to them. They threw the best parties, and I was all up in there. I'm telling you, if you get invited to a gay party, go. They don't run out of food. They don't run out of drink. Nothing. As soon as I walk in, they would say, this is my neighbor, and he is not gay. I'm like, thanks for the announcement. Where's the food? Yeah. But they were great. So we pull up in the limo. There are signs across the street in their yard, the next yard. This is me just burying my wife, just coming back home. Limos pull up. They're letting us out. The sign said, do not park here, do not park here, do not park here. Just left the cemetery, emotional. I lost it. I went and grabbed every sign, broke it. My mother's like, Andre, stop. My friends are like, Andre, calm down. I'm breaking every sign, every sign. I went to their door. I'm like, how dare you tell people in my house not to park here? He's like, no, Andre, I was telling my guests don't park there so you could park there.
Oh. That's life. Sometimes that shit happens, bro. Bro, I'm sorry. I just got a little emotional off of that story because of the flip.
I'm telling you, that right there. And I broke down crying in front of him. I said, I'm so sorry. He said, Andre, I understand. I said, I know. I just couldn't explain it. He says, Andre, you just buried your wife. Your mind's not right. I get it. It's okay. He said, he says, we're having our fundraiser tonight. And when the people come, I didn't want them parking there so y'all could have those slots. He did it for me. So we have to watch ourselves, man. We got to check ourselves. What I learned from that, and I try to apply it every time, is think long, react slow.
Oh, yeah.
I reacted. I said, wait a minute. Maybe I need to ask some questions before I react. And I think that's where a lot of people get in trouble, go to jail, kind of things. They reacted. And that taught me that. Have I messed up sometimes? Yeah, but I try to think about that and say, wait a minute, what I'm seeing might not be what it is. That happened. I've never forgotten that. This was in 2002. It's clear like it was yesterday.
Do you still speak to them?
I haven't seen them since I left there. I left there in 2010, and I haven't seen them. Yeah. I would assume they may still be in that house. If they were, I'd go. But if I went back down to Texas, I would definitely go by and see them.
Invite them out here. Invite them to where you at now, bro.
They were great people.
That sounds like the type of people that are supposed to be in your life forever.
Oh, yeah. Great people. Great people. So, yeah, man, we all go through some stuff. I'm sure you've been through some stuff. I just wanted to share my experience more than anything to say, if I can get through what I've gotten through, you can get through what you're, today is not the end-all, be-all. And one thing the Bible does say is this too shall pass. That is true, because life doesn't stop because you had a loss. Your bills don't stop coming because you had a loss.
I still get bills from my father, man. It's so crazy.
Wow.
Father's been gone for 2 years, and I still get bills
Yeah.
from him.
I got bills from my mother for a long time, but what can you do? I wasn't finna pay them. What they gonna do?
That's what I told him. I was like, yo, call him.
What you gonna do?
Bro, I appreciate you for having a drink with me,
Yep.
for being the man that you are. The journey has been painful.
I'm still on the journey.
Oh, it never ends.
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that the journey has brought us together.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you for being you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I don't even want to come off like my story is more important than anybody else. It's only just to say, hey, I'm still standing, so can you. And just take a moment, and especially when we talk about suicide, if anybody out there is hearing me and they thinking about it, think about the people left. They're the ones who go through it. You're gone. You ain't feeling no pain. But the people that you leave could end up on drugs, could end up alcoholics, could end up killing themselves. It's a domino effect. You don't just take your life and everything's okay. The people that you leave are the people who go through it. So before you think about that. If you love them people at all, call somebody, call a number, call your church, call your preacher, call your counselor, call a friend.
Call a friend.
But taking your life is just the most selfish thing you can do. And I'm not trying to be done. I'm being very compassionate. Think about the people that you're going to leave, your nieces, your nephews, the ones who adore you. Because what you're going through is temporary. You just can't see the other side. If you just wait a few more days, another month, things will change, and you'll be glad that you didn't attempt anything.
No matter the situation.
So, one of the things I always tell people, share your story. You might have 500 followers. If one person say, you know what, he's right. I'm not going to kill myself. I'm good. I did something. I made a positive thing. I did a positive thing. So, yeah, I tell people to share their stories. Don't be embarrassed to share your story. It don't make you weak. Share your story. Somebody in the crowd you're connecting with.
Talk.
Yeah.
Talk to those that you love. Mm-hmm. Talk to those that care about you. Mm-hmm. Talk to a stranger.
Talk to a stranger.
You never know who's that angel for you.
Yeah.
It could be an absolute stranger. Smile with a stranger.
Yeah.
Be kind to a stranger, because that person can deliver, or put that batter in your back for something better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, ladies and gents and ladies, once again, you are here talking sweet with Sweet Baby J. We had Dre. It was definitely a Dre day.
It was a good day.
As always.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing your story. Unfortunate that you had to go through that.
I'm strong as a rock now. I'm strong as a rock.
I was going to say, I'm glad you're here, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
I'm glad you have reasons to keep pushing, to keep fighting.
Yeah.
And always look for that reason to keep fighting.
Yeah. Appreciate you having me, dog.
Hey, stay great, boss.
Always.
That's about it.